Anybody else here? Can you hear me now?
Morning.
Hey, John.
Hey, I've got two or three of us here now. Four.
Yes,
Hey,
I'm here. I'm just messing around with my settings.
Of
good
course.
idea. Whatever you do, see if you can make yourself look better.
Can
You
you
know,
guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we
we
can
hear
hear you,
somebody.
Sunshine. Good morning.
I was going to use an avatar with horns coming out of it or something.
There you go. Yeah.
It's a good idea, John. Great idea.
How do you guys, when you're not using video, how do you end up with a still picture? Just a photo.
Forget
You can
what
go
it's-
to your settings.
It's
Yeah.
in the settings and there's pictures you can pick, I think. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I came on Avatar and I was looking at some of the stuff. It's pretty funny, actually.
Ask your grandson. He probably knows. He can think of
Yeah, you're right.
there you go.
Morning, gents.
Hey.
Santosh. Yeah, I kind of wish that I could have multiple of those images and then select which one I want for for any particular meeting.
There you go.
That you have to upload the separate image. You get one at a time, or at least last I knew, you could get one at a time.
What would be cool is if the AI picked an image based on your mood and the volume of your voice. But really, really mad, you get this like fiery background.
Yep.
Well, let's see. I got a minute and a half to go by my clock. And then, of course, right on cue, my phone starts ringing.
Of course. Somebody's trying to sell you something.
When is that RSAT meeting? That's today also, right?
Yeah, it started an hour ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was on it for about 50 minutes. It was just getting good, and then I had to come over here. So
Which
Oh.
airport?
LAX. So, just a little one. And they're having big issues over there. So, yeah, that's very unfortunate. It was originally scheduled for next week, next Wednesday, I think. And then about 3 weeks or so ago, they changed it to today. And I thought, no, you can't do that.
Anything earth shattering?
They got runway incursions galore. They just had another runway incursion up there an hour ago.
Really? Oh no.
So, yeah, in fact, it's kind of, there are a lot of common ingredients to runway incursions that I've been hearing about at a lot of RSATs. We'll talk about that when we get to the airport and the RSAT review in a little bit. But one of the issues I actually emailed Gary Palmer, a week or two ago after one of the meetings. There was an air traffic controller brought something up that was interesting. So I said, hey, let's see if we can start using this network that we have been trying to build here and get that word out. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And it is 10 o'clock, so let's kick this thing off. Good morning. It's the second Tuesday of the month, so it must be SCAUWG Day. My name is Mike Jesch. I'm the chairman of the Southern California Airspace Users Working Group. I have also our co-chairman, John Ringel. Captain John Ringel, retired, is joining us, and a cast of thousands. So welcome, everybody.
Hey.
I have my agenda going on here, and I would like to start out with airspace issues. So actually, let me start with email bounces. I did pretty well this month. Usually I get about 8 to 10 rejected emails. People have moved on to other activities, so their old email addresses die. If that's you, or you think that might be you, or you know of somebody who should be on the list who isn't getting their emails, let me know. Send me an email and I'll try to get it figured out. If the person is moved on to other things, we'll take them off the list. If they've changed position or organization or what have you, we'll change that email address and keep them in the loop. So, and it seems to be working pretty well. If there's somebody else who's not currently attending these on a regular basis and you think that they should, then have them email me directly and I'll add them to the list. So that's what I got for that. And then into airspace issues. And I'm very glad to see we got Sunshine Genovitz this morning, our expert on SoCal airspace. So we'll be coming back to you a little bit here tonight and Thursday. We'll talk about that in a second. What have you got, Sunshine? What's going on?
On my unmute. So the Van Nuys runway construction's going on. They're about to open up the other runway, I believe on the 19th May. When that happens, we're gonna have to turn off the Harris 5 because when they upgraded from the Harris 4 to the Harris 5, and that was agreed upon because of the lawsuit and everything, they're turning too early and it's interfering with the traffic pattern, which we already know the traffic pattern at Van Nuys doesn't need any help to be any worse.
So what's going to get turned off?
The Harris 5.
Harris 5?
Yeah, departure procedure.
Okay.
I think the expectation is maybe is it the new hall, but the new hall will be more in use until we're working with the I'm sorry, it's early. We're working with the office that does the procedures to see what we can do. I know, to mitigate that. I got my monster
There you go.
to mitigate that. Sorry, I've already been busy this morning. Also expect a VIP visit this Friday for a couple hours in the LA area, but it's the little TFR, the 5 nautical mile TFR, so not the big one. And I'll be getting more information out on that as I get it. That's all I can think of right now.
So that Harris 5 departure, that's a turbojet only?
I don't really know. I haven't
I
looked
have
into
that
it.
right. Yeah, the Jeppesen version is showing up yeah, it's a jet only. And they're just turning early. They're not waiting for the 1750, or they're supposed to be on the runway heading until they
Well,
get a
no,
vector.
well now the new turning point, it has some, I've got PDAR's data somewhere, but it shows they're turning early and it's interfering with, I believe, Victor 186 because they're not climbing. But then because of where it turns earlier, it interferes with the VFR traffic pattern. And because they found that the Harris 5 came online right before the runway construction for about a week, and they were able to see what it was doing. And then because of the runway construction, we just didn't need to do anything. But now that runway is opening back up on the 19th, we are preemptively, basically, if you file for it, you won't get it.
So I wonder if this is the same thing we've seen with a few other departures out of Van Nuys and other airports like Deer Valley and some other Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, where the procedure is not depicted very accurately in certain navigation systems. And I think if pilots are following the dashed lines on their screen, they're going the wrong way. So they need to
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. I'm not a
Yeah.
pilot.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
a while, one of those departures out of Van Nuys was the number one
Oh, yes.
SID
I
in the
remember
system
that.
for deviations. So
That was my baptism in fire when I first got this job on here. It's that one.
yeah, there you go. So you should have a visceral reaction then when, when this
It's
kind of thing happens.
when I hear it's Burbank Van Nuys, I'm just like sigh, you know.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
Okay, where are we going now?
Yeah. All right. So that's good to know. Anything else going on with tech routes or anything like that?
There was just an update on all the tech routes. I believe that was published about a month ago.
And I haven't spent a lot of time looking at those, any major
So basically
revisions?
we had to correct because we had a lot of them that were, go from popper and intercept the radial. That was not legal. So we put them on fixes instead of radials, and a lot of them, and we went through this like a year ago. It takes that long to put them in, but we just, instead of a radial, we had them go to a fix. It's already there.
Yeah, that's great. I remember talking with Ed Snow about that. That popper
Yes.
example is a good one. Follow the Santa Monica 125-degree radial. Well,
To
if
the
they're
Santa Monica one something radial when you got north of Santa Monica. Yeah, it wasn't legal. So we
yeah,
went in
and you
and
fly
it's
the reciprocal, and the problem was that might be the VOR radial, but it's not the GPS course because those magnetic variations are different by about 3 degrees. So
yeah.
Okay,
So,
good.
and we went through and did all of those. Yeah. Okay.
Good. I'll have to get a look at them. I haven't, my airplane's been down for maintenance until last week, so we haven't been able to fly it much lately. I'll be looking forward to getting back out on there. So cool.
Hey, Mike,
Thanks.
Mike, a quick administrative question. And it's probably my fault, but did your announcement have an agenda connected to it? Oftentimes I can print out an agenda and perhaps it's there, but I just can't see it.
Yep. It was there. It was a PDF file that was attached to the meeting announcement.
Okay, I'll look for that.
A lot of other people saw it. Let me see. I might be able to, let me kick the next little thing off, and while that's going on, I'll email it to you.
Okay.
separately. So,
Thanks.
okay. So let's see. And while we got you on the horn here with SCT Sunshine, I know we've got at Orange County tonight, John Mahaney knows there's a pilot controller forum at a live meeting at Orange County tonight. And on
Yep.
Thursday, I'll be hosting a pilot controller forum virtually for LAX Class Bravo transition discussion. So
Oh,
SoCal TRACON is getting out there a little bit right now. It's awesome.
We're trying to. We're trying to.
yeah, I asked
And
Bob yesterday. He said, yes, I'll be there. So just to confirm it.
good. I texted him a little while ago with another question. He said he wasn't feeling too good this morning. So I said,
no.
pour another cup of coffee in there. I hope it gets better soon. So,
I'll be improvising. Anyway, hopefully it works.
So, Sunshine, next question I've got for you is the remodel status. I understand you're all completely moved into the new radar rooms. That's all good now?
It is beautiful. They're
Nice.
still, they're doing bathrooms and they're doing all this. This is a big facility. There's a lot to it, and there's a room that just is full of like I didn't know this till recently, full of like car batteries. And there's a jet, like a turbojet from like an airplane, but that helps run like a backup system. It's quite
Oh.
impressive.
Turbo
Yeah,
Turn back.
there's 3 backup systems. There's a backup to the backup to the backup, and they're redoing all of that. But the radar room is just phenomenal.
Wow.
I can't wait to see it. I understand, hopefully, crossing my fingers, maybe visits starting in June.
I don't know. I know that they're already talking about allowing kind of small groups of people in. I know we're having the Air Force, but Rob Reddick is the person that I'll ask him. But yeah, right now we're not really able to schedule anything because there's still like bathrooms are being done, things like that. They're painting walls, but the radar room's phenomenal.
We can
Yeah,
ask him tonight.
we just need a porta potty out back. We don't need a bathroom. We'll come down and visit anyway.
Oh, the new bathrooms, everything's touchless. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Nice. I can't wait to see it. Okay, thanks. And so moving on to my next agenda item here with NavAid procedure status. Like usual, I checked this morning on NavAid outages in the area. So right now, as far as TACANs, we've got the LAX, Fillmore, and Oceanside TACANs are all out of service. For VORs, Vortex, and VOR DMEs, I got Homeland, Fillmore, Lake Hughes, Julian, and Ventura are all out of
And-
service. So
Jeez.
might
Mona.
almost be easier to put up a list of what's functioning rather than a list of what's not functioning.
Mona's been out, Mike.
Sorry, John, say again.
Pomona too.
Mona VOR's been out.
It has been, but I didn't see it in a list of NOTAMs today.
Okay.
So
I was training somebody out of bracket and the ATIS was continually saying no approaches. The VOR's down. So
Yeah, and while we're on bracket, they're showing the 2.6 left localizer is out of service. And let me back up here. So that's VORs as far as I know, VORs, Vortex, VOR DMEs. So you got kind of all the edges here from Ventura down to Julian and a bunch in between. DMEs, the Camarillo and Seal Beach DMEs are out of service. And then ILS, interesting to me, I was on the Ontario RSAT meeting the other day. They talked about the ILS 26 right glide path. They say GP, which is interesting. I think that should be GS for glide slope on an ILS is out of service. And ILS 26 right Cat 2 and 3 out of service. I come to find out the reason behind that has to do with the lighting system. Apparently when they remodeled that runway, 26 right, 8 left at Ontario, They put in a budget backup power system which does not meet Cat 3 standards. So
Oh,
they're trying to get this new cheapo system certified, which is an uphill battle. The FAA is basically saying no, and the airport's saying, well, this is what we got. So probably no Cat 3s on 26 right, which doesn't mean a lot for most of us GA guys, but Ontario is my destination alternate coming home from Tokyo a lot. So
Yeah, yeah.
if it's foggy at LAX and I got to divert to Ontario, I can't do a Cat 3 on 26 right there. But 26 left is functioning fine. So, and then I've also got LAX 24 right, Cat 2 is inoperative right now. Torrance, they separately list the glide path and the ILS are inoperative in two separate NOTAMs. We got Van Nuys 16 right, localizer and glide path are inoperative. That's in one combined NOTAM. Burbank ILS 8 outer marker is out of service. And like I mentioned, Pomona 26 left localizer. Doug Williams, I see your hand is up. Good morning.
Morning, sir. Can you tell us where you get that out of service information? That would be a great search for me to do when I'm working fires in the summer.
Sure. I just actually set up a 4-flight flight plan and I get a weather briefing. And I look it up in the
That's a good idea.
So
I'm gonna
I
steal
can
that idea.
I'll show you what I've got here. Let me see if I can do this quickly here.
pretty good old no chance, yep.
Yeah. Oops, that one. So it always takes a second for it to switch over. So bear with me a moment. And I don't have my mouse here. So I set up a flight plan that's just starts in San Diego and goes to Camarillo and kind of zigzags around. And then I send that over to flights and I get a weather briefing.
Oh,
So, my flight looks like this, and the corridor the width is broad enough that I get that it brings in all the airports basically.
okay.
And then I scroll down here to the bottom, and here's all the NOTAMs for the en route or METARs for the en route airports. Down here in NOTAMs, I get departure destination, which is the first and the last airport. But then underneath that, I get en route navigation NOTAMs. So that's what I'm going off of. And it doesn't incorporate all of the FDC NOTAMs. So for instance, I was flying out of Fullerton yesterday and the Anaheim 1 SID has certain transitions inoperative because the Fillmore VOR is out, the Lake Hughes VOR is out. It doesn't include all of those, not the procedures, but it's got the nav aids. So that's just a technique I use.
Very smart. Thank you.
Sure. All right, so where was I? Maybe John can chime in on this a little bit. We got notification recently that the Ontario, or the, actually we got Ted Gablin on board. He can probably talk about this more accurately than I can, but the Redlands, apparently they've thrown the towel in on the proposed amendments to the Class Delta, I believe it was, at San Bernardino. What do we got, Ted?
They used the word withdrew.
Is that the correct word?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm assuming that they're going to come back with something else. I'm not sure, but we're kind of happy about that. What was being proposed was restrictive to Redlands, and there wasn't anything there to address the lack of surveillance equipment. You got controllers at San Bernardino telling us they can't see things now, and they're expanding their controlled airspace. So I didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, this is Plan A, so we'll find out what Plan B looks like here in a couple of months or maybe a couple of years when they come out with that one. So
When did you find out they withdrew it?
a couple of weeks
What was the
ago.
notes?
I didn't
And, yeah, Ted, I think you forwarded that email to me, and it was after the last meeting, maybe 3 weeks ago or so.
Something like
Okay.
that, yeah.
Yeah. So,
tracking too many things.
yeah, there's a lot going on for sure. That's why we're here.
So the other thing that we've noticed is that traffic is down into San Bernardino. We haven't seen as much traffic, and obviously maybe it has something to do with the economy, the tariffs.
Tariffs, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I mean that's UPS laid off what 20,000 people. So
So is that going to be enough that the problem's going to go away, or do you think it's just on the back burner somewhere?
I think it's on the back burner somewhere. They've built a nice infrastructure at San Bernardino for air freight, so I think that's not going to go away.
Yeah, if you build it, they will come. So
Right.
they built it. So, okay. So, John, have you had any further contact with the folks about the Ontario Class Charlie issue? They were talking about getting a group together to contemplate some amendments.
I haven't heard one word.
Okay.
It's almost like it died, or I have no clue.
It's gone the same way as the Long Beach Class Charlie, right?
Yeah, basically.
Santosh, I see your hand is up.
Quick question for Sunshine, based on Mike's idea of getting the NOTAMs. Sunshine, do you guys use ForeFlight at all, even though your air traffic controllers just on the side or as a reference, or?
I go to SkyVector a lot. We use ForeFlight. Yeah, we use a lot of those tools, but I'm not a pilot, so I didn't really have that way of thinking. So I'm stealing that idea.
One thing I want to suggest to you guys is, since you guys have a .gov email address, you are eligible for ForeFlight's MFA military flight bank, which is the whole enchilada. So and once you have it for life. Just a heads up for you guys. You guys want to take it?
Okay, thanks.
Well, we can probably find some pilots that could help you understand how all that stuff works, Sunshine. So
Right. I'm looking in my emails for your Ontario question. See what's come up.
yeah, I know Jared Gregg is one of your controllers who works coast sector. He's got his instrument rating about a year ago, so he's one that could help you. But
So they've requested a staff study at Ontario, and that request was sent out on March 7th. So they're requesting an ad hoc class Charlie study on the proposal.
yeah, that's probably what I was contacted about, and I don't remember off the top of my head who it was who sent that to me. But I forwarded it to John. I don't have time to grab another hat, so I was hoping John could participate in that. It was going to be an ad hoc committee made up of a bunch of users of the airspace with some familiarity, and they were reaching out to us. So John was going to do that, but we haven't heard anything since then. So, all right,
I can't even find the text message.
I'll find it
That
after the meeting, and I'll get back in touch
What's
with you
the
about it.
beginning of your email address, Mike?
It's Mike.
Okay, it'll come up.
And no, it's MCJESC.
There, that's I thought it was something. All right, I'm kind of sending you something.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thanks. So outside areas, we'll get those handled here. We got Lee Younger from Phoenix, actually from Tucson, is here. I finally got to meet her in 3D last week.
That was great. And I enjoyed your presentation also on stabilized approaches.
Oh, thanks.
That was great. You reminded all of us we can do a go around.
Yep. Yeah, my last couple landings have not been that 99 that I showed on during that. That was a one-off fluke. So anything going on in Tucson, Phoenix area today?
Yes, we have the Ryan Pilot Controller Forum today at 11. I'll have to leave early in order to attend. And the environmental study is out for comments for Marana Regional concerning the construction of the tower. Those comments are due by May 21st. So we're hoping that keeps moving along. Thanks, Mike.
You bet. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Las Vegas. Michael Williams, I know, is still over in the LA RSAT meeting, and he didn't provide me with an update. Excuse me, I've had a little bit of a cough for a few days here, so hopefully that's cleared up by this week. Still no movement on San Diego. Charlie Gunderson is still out of the scenery for a little bit. Practice area updates. Gary Palmer is not here. He had an opportunity to work with his mechanic on changing his engine out on his 182. He just texted me a few minutes before this started. So a couple of things that came up with him. I asked him to use this CFI outreach tool to reach out to flight schools. One of the things that came up in the Ramona Airport RSAT meeting had to do with the ground control. They had, I think they said they had one runway incursion But what they're seeing a lot down there is poor radio technique. And one of the things they see a lot down there is people responding or acknowledging a taxi clearance with a double click of the microphone and not reading it back.
Ooh,
That is inadequate. So as flight instructors and pilots, we need to be teaching and we need to be using the proper full readback, a call sign, the runway assignment, and any hold short instructions. Interestingly, in my experience, people tend to read back the taxi route, but leave the runway assignment out of it. So that's kind of backwards. According to the AIM, the taxi route is not a required portion of the readback, but the runway assignment is.
Yeah.
So I asked Gary to reach out to his group and remind flight schools to remind their flight instructors to remind their students that about proper radio phraseology. That double click does not work. There's no circumstance in which that's a proper use of the radio. So let's stop teaching that. And they said at the Ramona RSAT that it was flight instructors doing that and flight instructors teaching that. So we need to stop that. So that would be my advice on that. TCAS RA events, I'm still hitting brick walls when it comes to finding information about TCAS RAs. Are you aware of any sunshine lately that have been going on in the area from an ATC standpoint?
There's always some somewhere. I can do a search on our log.
Well, and I'm interested in it again from an airspace, from a flight instruction point of view. If these are
If
TCAS
there's a
RAs,
hot spot area.
yeah, exactly. It'd be nice to have kind of a heat map, I guess is what you'd call it, for where these are happening. If there's any common ingredients to them, if there's something that we're teaching the wrong way or showing our students and the pilots that we're doing it the wrong way, the wrong place that we're flying, or whatever. If we can do a little bit of training to help alleviate that, that would probably help.
All right. I actually was showed a new tool in the software that we have, but I only used it once. And because like you, we found a trick where we can go do that. So I'll look at that tool again and see what pops up. Because of course we were using it to show it at Van Nuys and Burbank area, and you're like, whoa, you know. So yeah, I'll look at that. I
Okay.
don't hear everything that's going on right here, but I hear a lot, and I can look for the information if I need it.
Well, you hear more than I do, so I I defer to
Unfortunately.
your much broader experience and exposure than me. So okay, and moving on to the chart report, I received an email from Candy Robinson, who is our chart guru, this morning about what she's found in the current chart. So let me share her email. There's going to be a weird block there in a portion of the screen, but fairly minor. There's a mistake in this URL that's given right here. There should be a www in front of the FAA.gov. And then within the John Wayne Class C, she pointed out the chart still says blimp hangars up at the old Tustin Marine Corps Air Station airfield. One of those burned down a while ago, so it should say blimp hangar singular instead. So probably good advice, and we'll make those recommendations on through the channels and get that approved. So somebody might get lost if they were looking for more than one blimp hangar and there's only one there. So let's see. Any other chart issues that anybody's found as you're flying around? All right, moving on to CFI Flight School and Training Outreach. We've talked a little bit about this flight school outreach already. Fast programs of note, I've mentioned we got a pilot controller forum tonight at Orange County. That'll be SoCal TRACON. So Rob Reddick is supposed to be there at 7 o'clock tonight at the admin building on the west side of the field. Let me see, I'm going to find this URL here and post it. It'll take me a second to find it because I got too many tabs open on my computer here, but I'm going to post a sign up link for the pilot controller forum that I'm hosting for the FSDO on Thursday evening. That's going to feature SoCal TRACON, and I think we got Torrance Airport and a couple other local airports will have maybe not the ATM there, the traffic manager, but at least a controller, hopefully a FAC rep or a pilot outreach person to discuss in general how we're going to actually very specifically how we're going to use the transition routes across LAX. So as soon as I get that link, I'll put that in the chat.
Steve York, that rep.
And let's see, we got some other background noise going on there. And then next week at Fullerton, we're hosting the Finer Points. Jason Miller will be at Fullerton Airport on Tuesday evening. So he's a pretty well-known flight instructor. He's got some amazing videos on maneuvers. When I'm teaching commercial students, I send them to his website for the videos on how to do a chandelle, how to do a lazy eight. They're great videos. He's going to give us a talk on mountain flying next week at Orange County. So at Fullerton rather. So come on down.
And what's his name, Mike?
Jason Miller.
Jason Miller. Okay, thank you. And I should have mentioned there's an Arizona Flight Training Work Group meeting today at 4. You're all welcome to attend. It's great for Gary Palmer tries to get there when he can.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be there this afternoon too. I should be able to be there. So
Great.
that'll be good.
Mike, you said something about Thursday. I got confused about that because usually we do Tuesdays. So is there something going on Thursday, you said?
Yeah, Thursday is a webinar format, pilot controller forum.
Which airport?
All airports. It's to do with Class Bravo transition routes.
Oh, outstanding. Do you guys have a link or anything to it, or are you all?
Yeah, it's what I've been talking about. As soon as I get the link, when I get a second here, I'll post it in the chat. It is posted on the FAAsafety.gov website, and everybody got an email about it about a week and a half ago. So I will post that.
Approximately
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to RSAT meetings, the airport and RSAT updates. I've been attending a lot of RSATs. I've been to Burbank, Van Nuys, where LAX is going on right now. Fullerton will be in about 2 weeks. Been to Ramona, Camarillo, and Oxnard. As I mentioned, there still seems to be a big problem with runway incursions, and the common ingredient is a pilot gives a good readback of the instructions and just doesn't do it. So I suspect it's inadequate planning, pilots not reviewing taxi diagrams adequately before they operate there, not noting any closed areas, not having an idea which way they're going. So I think that's what's going on a lot mostly. People do tend to read it back when they do more than just the double click. They read back the instructions, they read it back correctly, and then they just screw it up. So it's a common thing. You see it in every one of the ACS documents. A hot item that examiners are expected to test on every time is runway incursion prevention. So get those diagrams out and study them, and you probably won't cause a runway incursion.
Mike, in that same context, you and John are heavy metal people. What happens, this is just educational, why do the large planes clip wings when they're taxiing?
I don't know that I could tell you a single thing. I think
Never
it's
the
mostly,
pilot's. It's never the pilot's fault. Just
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, we'll pin it on the controllers, but Sunshine will defend them, and rightfully so. I mean, they do happen occasionally with an airplane taxiing. Usually, it's an airplane being pushed back, and it's the wing walkers who are not in position or not paying attention. This is a huge deal all the time. And I'll tell you what, it just drives me nuts. I come into LAX to park at a gate in LAX, and there will be wing walkers on each wing, and they're not looking at my wingtip. And there will be some ground equipment, a tug or a row of baggage carts or something. We have these safety lines, and this equipment will be inside the lines, and I won't move the aircraft. And they're all looking at me going, "What are you waiting for? It's all clear. You're not going to hit it." But our rules are nothing can be inside that zone, and I won't move the airplane until it's outside the zone. So eventually, finally, they move it, and they look at me like I got 3 eyeballs. and like I'm from another planet. But you know, we got our rules. I'm not going to move the aircraft. Um, so there was one at Kennedy, I think it was, where an aircraft was on a perpendicular taxiway, but not moved out where they should have, as far as they should have. So the aircraft was taxiing, and in that case, I think it's just pilots not looking out. Maybe they had an expectation that that aircraft was going to keep moving over to where they should have moved, and they didn't. So yeah, I mean, I'm paid by the minute, so I don't mind slowing down and taking extra time. I got a, you know, almost a 200-foot wingspan I'm working with out there. I can't see anything out of that cockpit. It's, yeah, I can barely see the wingtip to begin with. So if it's close, I just stop the jet, and I want somebody outside to tell me it's clear because I can't tell.
Taxi by Braille is very expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Stick your hand out there and see if you can reach it, and if you can
Right.
touch it, you're too close.
I say wing walkers, I learned way back when, if you don't have wing walkers, you know, you don't move. So anyway,
Yeah,
I think it's interesting that he brought that up because I get a daily email from like some office in the FAA and they tell us all the little incidences that happen. There's been a lot of wingtips being hit lately, like a lot.
Yep. Yeah, and those are expensive. So you get a lot of downtime with the aircraft. You get the bruised egos with the pilots. You know, we had one of our crews, they were pushing back off gate 41, and the push crew, I don't know what they did. They just made some weird turn and they pushed the left wingtip into the building. I'm going, how does that happen? You know, if you're looking, I've seen people at Orange County Airport, some of the corporate operators, they're moving just a citation around the ramp. They've got wing walkers or by each wingtip, they each have a whistle in their mouth, and they, as long as they're whistling, it's okay. They keep pushing. When they stop whistling, the tug driver stops. And they're taxiing in close quarters, and they've never contacted an airplane. So if you have adequate vigilance, due diligence being practiced by everybody there, this stuff is avoidable. It's preventable. So
But your wing walkers are talking to you on the radio, right?
no, the wing walkers are not talking to us. They're communicating with the tug driver, who's the one that really matters. The tug driver, as a general rule, is in communication with the captain, usually. A lot of times, though, as John will tell you, these headsets are terrible sometimes, and they're cheap. They get abused. They get thrown around. The cords are wrapped around and broken all half the time. So you don't find
Are
out until
these
you're.
wing walkers and stuff, are they provided by LAWA or the FBOs?
They're
Just
by
out
the
of
company.
curiosity.
Generally by the company. These ones at the FBO at Orange County were FBO provided wing walkers. You know, somebody will fly a jet in, drop off their passengers. They're going to overnight the jet, and then they drag it over to an overnight site. So that kind of moving is what's going on there. So various people in LAX, it's not LAWA people. It's the company employees.
Well, I remember in the 90s, I got hired with Delta Airlines in Salt Lake City. My dad knew somebody, and I actually worked air cargo and out on there. And at this time, they were revamping Delta Airlines and they were contracting a lot of other, the airline jobs out. And you saw a lot of safety issues then.
Yeah, we see that too. A lot of our smaller airports, we contract out to our wholly owned operators, the SkyWest or whatever. So sometimes they handle the aircraft at the airport. You know, it's interesting in Japan. When I fly to Tokyo, it's airport provided crews there. They generally are pretty good, but I'll be honest, in the last 6 or 8 months, we have a certain litany that we have to use back and forth. It's a script, a literal written script that we're supposed to follow. The last 6 or 8 months, it's been terrible. And I have to really work to get the official litany out of them. And it's frustrating, but it's up to us as the pilots to make them stick to the script, to the standard operating procedure. And sometimes it's easier than others.
Do the ground crews
You've
do the
learned
ground
Japanese
crews
now.
wave to you as you leave, Mike?
Oh yeah, they all stand by the line. It's beautiful. They four guys. They're all doing exactly like this, and it's funny. We have all the cockpit crew leans out there, and looks at the window. They're waving at the ground crew, and
Right.
I keep telling them, they're not waving at us. They're waving at the 240 people we got in the
Right.
back of the airplane.
Right.
They're saying goodbye, thanks for visiting Japan.
Right.
No former Navy guys giving you the shoot signal, are they? Touching the deck.
Yeah. Yeah,
So for the
exactly.
So for the I guess the light metal guys, as opposed to heavy metal, any scenarios of the taxi lines being painted incorrectly? Because I know a pilot alleges back in the AFI days that the taxi line near the hangars there was painted incorrectly, leading to his wingtip clipping the hangar. And even apparently, if you looked at the hangar, there are previous damage marks of other airplanes repeatedly hitting it over and over again. And so, have you heard of that being a cause of the line being incorrectly painted?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Uh, Joel from NBAA could probably tell you they get plenty of damage in jets flying around, corporate jets and chartered operators. That that you got a line, but you've got eyeballs, and if you don't like what you're seeing, it's time to stop the jet or stop the aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the one normally pushing back the aircraft, but I mean, this is unfortunately a recurring item. I mean, human error happens; it's often avoidable, but recurring issue completely separate from NBA. Aircraft get damaged from debris. Aircraft get accidentally taxied into each other. Sometimes you start up the engine and you're too far to someone else's aircraft, and the lightweight aircraft gets blown across the ramp. So, I'm not sure there's an easy solution to this other than pay attention. I mean, that's kind of maybe the two words that should be every pilot's mantra in every circumstance.
Yep, exactly. The guy in the left seat is the final authority and is directly responsible, and it's up to us to park the brakes and stop the show until we get the answer we need to get. So
maybe we need a WT TCAS, wingtip TCAS.
yeah. How much money you got? You gonna pay for that? All right, and that brings me to industry association updates. I don't see AOPA here today, but I do see NBAA. What do you have for us, Joel?
I'm gonna say goodbye really quick.
Oh.
I will see you guys next month. Feel free to, I'll put my email in the chat before I leave. Feel free to email me with any questions. I may not know the answer, but I will know somebody who does.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming, Sunshine. It's good to see you again.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great day.
So I put a link for the 4-flight military flight bag. If you,
I saw that. I copied it. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Thank you, honey. Bye-bye.
I mean, I think from an NBA perspective, the item, and again, it's kind of sounding a little bit more like it belongs in Ed's call than this call, but the item that would be of greatest general interest is, as people may recall, there's some ongoing litigation in Torrance over whether the airport can prohibit touch and goes and certain other operations. And it crosses over into airspace quite literally, because one of the questions is how far can an airport go in regulating operations that are partially in airspace but partially on the ground? So, any case, the local plaintiffs in this filed their brief last week. It'll be a little while till Torrance's response is due, but in terms of the sort of large pile of disputes going on in Southern California, that's the one where there's actually been some development since we last talked. Oh, Mike, I think you're still on mute.
I pushed it twice. It's still muted. Ted, what do you have for us? I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I spoke to Jim McClay this morning at AOPA about the RCOs. He apologized for not making the call today because it's in the RCO elimination proposal SRMP. And he did share that AOPA, EAA, and VAI have submitted comments. Basically, they're proposing that, the idea of closing unused RCOs is probably a good idea. A lot of them are underutilized, but there are still some being utilized by some people, and it should be a targeted elimination. So anyway, that's where they are on that. I imagine they're going to share that letter here shortly.
All right, great. Thanks for that, Ted. Let me see. Do we have any other industry associations, organizations here? I don't see anybody from Cal Pilots or ALPA today. NETCA rep is gone now. Well, she's not actually NETCA rep, but yeah, let's see. We've got Doug Williams from Douglas Williams, the helicopter firefighting thing. Do you have any updates for us?
Not at this time. The PHPA or SoCal Rotors is hosting the annual firefighter media event tomorrow at Van Nuys, so we'll have more information for the next meeting.
Okay, Cool. What was that meeting called? The annual who?
Let me give you the official from my email. It is from SoCal Rotors. It's called the Annual Fire Season Briefing. Tomorrow, I'm sorry, it's at Whiteman, not Van Nuys, Whiteman, at 10:30 a.m.
Okay. That's good to know. Any expectations on what they'll be talking about that we might want to know about?
Typically, they do it once a year. Typically, it's just to really get the media pilots and the fire folks together to talk about common entrance procedures and anything that's new in the fire world, so that when things get heated and we have lots of aircraft up over a fire, everybody's kind of on the same page with communications and knowing where they should be or should not be. But I don't think there'll be anything new. San Bernardino County Fire did fly this week an autonomous Black Hawk to do some firefighting in the high desert, I believe, as a demonstration only. So there should be some interesting things coming on that front in the next years.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. That's interesting. That sounds like a good idea. I'm glad you're doing it. Thanks. And
Of course.
if you wouldn't mind dropping me an email afterwards if there's anything you think we need to know about, that
I
would be
did send
cool.
you another email yesterday off of Facebook because somebody was complaining about one woman that was taking down pilot information and she actually was able to pull their cell phones and start making some not happy phone calls. So I did send you that just to make you aware of it, but that's all
Yeah,
I
I
have.
saw that. John Ringel is our main contact at Long Beach. I think he's on an intimate basis with this person.
I'm sure.
Or maybe
No,
that's a
not
Good enough.
really. I
that might
just,
be a little bit
I
of a
just,
stretch. But
I know of her, and I did talk to the guy that posted that on Facebook last night. And this isn't the first time, and it's bordering on harassment. I basically told him to write up something for me, and I'll give it to the city of Long Beach because the city of Long Beach has taken this stuff very seriously. This guy actually had this person, I won't mention her name. She reached out to the previous owner of the airplane, and then he texted the current owner saying, "Oh, so I understand you're flying low over Long Beach," type of thing. And so they got into a conversation. Apparently, somehow this person was able to get his elderly mother's phone number and called her. And then, I mean, his mom did not give give her the cell phone number. She somehow was able to get it, and she called him up and really harangued on him. And that's harassment. You're not supposed to be calling people. And then I heard somebody else was actually being called while they were in the pattern. And of course, they ignored their cell phone. And then, of course, after he got on the ground, um, he returned the phone call and spent the next 30 to 45 minutes being harangued by her again. So she's saying things that are untrue. Uh, they're rules according to her. Um, and I mean, I've been in quite a few discussions about, you know, what the fly friendly program is supposed to be and some suggestions that are totally unsafe. So it's a very interesting situation. Frankly, I think this group is getting desperate. I did hear the other day that they hired a former FAA employee that Candy knows personally, and he's basically a hired gun. He'll just whoever has the most money. So whether or not he's in it for the money or not, I have no clue. But they really don't have a leg to stand on other than to just complain about the noise. And it's not the noise; it's the frequency. They're complaining more about the frequency of airplanes than they are anything else. So, um,
This isn't really California specific. I mean, we've certainly seen efforts like this elsewhere. Particularly, I mentioned Shelby County, Alabama, which is not probably most people's radar screen, but where there's a lawsuit currently pending where the person complaining has sued the pilots, in addition to the airport and basically everyone he can find. So something I would just contemplate though is before, I mean, first of all, I would say generally as a lawyer, a recommendation not to engage with these people. You know, don't spend 40 minutes on the phone, spend 40 seconds at most. But
Right.
secondly, if you're going to say anything in response, you probably do want it vetted through counsel because this could easily turn into a legal dispute and you don't want to say something that could come back to bite.
Right. You mean like, why did you buy an house near an airport? You know,
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's maybe not productive either, but more,
Right.
you don't want there to be any suggestion that you conceded some kind of fault. More to the point, to the extent they're going and harassing family members, this might be the time for a lawyer's letter to them to say, whatever your personal feelings, knock it off, or we're going to the police, which
Well,
might
this-
put the fear of God in them, might also put the fear of God into the FAA person who might not have realized that if they ever want to get another job, being associated with these people is not the best strategy.
this isn't the first time this has happened, though. The two gentlemen at the Long Beach airport that are noise and environmental decided instead of having lunch in their office, they decided to go over into those neighborhoods west of the airport and have their lunch sitting in a car. And they were sitting there and they were approached by a gentleman who happened to be the co-sponsor of a group that is the current group that's against the flying and so forth, and was asking questions and so forth. And why are you here? Why are you bothering our neighborhood? This and that. And he says, we're from the airport. We just wanted to see for ourselves what was going on. And so then they left on a good basis, as far as I know. And then a week later, the city of Long Beach gets a complaint that these two were harassing neighbors.
Wow.
So it's like, this is the kind of person you're dealing with. So, she's, she's
Yeah,
a
the problem, of course, is that sometimes these people get the ear of the city council. So that's
well,
why.
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And unfortunately, the people at the airport, they're between a rock and a hard place when it comes to this stuff. And they've got to walk a fine line.
Yeah, well, and that's what I said. Again, we'd want to think strategy, and again, this is probably more for Ed's call than for this call, but just some of these things might want to remain silent. Some you might want to actually make a public record about, but either case, I think you want to be very careful because again, engagement is probably the worst thing to do.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
I would agree with that, and it's kind of starting to get outside the range of what SCAUWG is involved with. But my suggestion would be that they contact the AOPA, Pilot Protection Services, engage the services of an attorney, write a cease and desist letter, and they start letting them know that that's probably about as much as you can do at this point. So.
I've got a quick question for Doug Williams. How do you get clearance for an autonomous Blackhawk?
You'd have to talk to an autonomous controller. I'm not involved. Sorry, I was involved.
Is it sort of like a MOA? You just clear a whole area, and then anything flying around in that is cleared or
But we do
somehow
have,
notified?
There are DROTAMs, which are NOTAMs for drones, and we have put up TFRs for drones before. So I guess I wasn't working the shift yesterday, so I wasn't involved. I just saw it a post on social media. The San Bernardino County Fire Department, I think, is the one that posted it. I can pull that up in a second, but I'm not fully aware. We have used TFRs for drones in the past, but it's usually been 400 feet or below unless they have a certificate of eligibility from the FAA, and then it changes things quite a bit. But it is new to me too. I'm learning.
Interesting. Thanks.
As are we all, huh? Let's see. So what else have I got next?
About the harassment, whatever. I guess I'm all familiar with the people trying to push false narratives. Having evidence, video evidence, body cam type stuff. You have your right to film inside your own vehicle or have it. That's probably the way to protect you legally. If people want to make false allegations of what your conduct was here in public.
Let me see.
Thank you all. Got to run. Thank you, Mike.
Bye, Lee. Thanks for coming. Tell
You're
everybody
welcome.
I said
Thank
hi.
you.
See you later.
See ya. Thank you.
Okay, so that's helicopter. Upcoming major events. Sunshine talked about a TFR on Friday coming. It's inbound for a VIP movement. Let's see. And she didn't mention it's not really a SoCal thing, but there is the. I had a chance to take a glider flight out at El Tiro, which is a glider port just west of Tucson. Long story, but they are hosting the some national competition. I forget the name of it in a couple of weeks. So there's going to be gliders from across the country flying out of just west of Marana, Tucson area in about 3 weeks. That's going to be about a 5-day event the last week of May. Any other major events coming up that we know about?
Fleet Week.
Fleet Week. Yeah, it's not on my radar here. What's the date of that? Do you know?
I think it's some Memorial Day weekend, but too bad Dennis Florida isn't here. Otherwise, we could have had him brief us on it.
Memorial Weekend. Okay.
I feel like we just talked about that
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that long ago.
Just last year. Yeah.
Could be.
Exactly. Things move fast. So, okay. Well, coming up on the end of my agenda here. The new website is still in progress. Still not a lot of movement, but it's not ready for prime time yet. So we'll get that out and announce it. Did I ask this last month about if we were interested in trying to get Wings credits for this meeting? Is anybody interested in that? Should I pursue that?
Yes.
I mean, I've already got a gazillion Wings credits backed up anyways. I'm sure most of you do. So yet another Wings Knowledge 3 credit.
Just for the hilarity of it, if nothing else.
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's how I was introduced to SCAUWG some 20 years ago, my first meeting. Pat used to post these through the Spans network, and when I signed up, I started getting these emails and started thinking, oh, this looks kind of interesting. So that's how I started coming to these meetings. They're not well known at this point, so as you see, we've got 9 people here. We've had a couple more over the course of the morning. So I'll talk with Nate. We'll see about doing this a
Sure.
little bit more formally.
No problem. As long as you're spending the time on it, might as well get credit for it.
Yeah.
Always learn something.
Yeah, then it's just one more thing for me to do to validate a bunch of Wings credits, but but that's all right. I do so many other things. I've got the bandwidth to do it, so I can. So, any other issues? Open season here.
I did reach out to LA Center and Joshua approaches operations managers to invite him to join SCAUWG, but there is some possible interest there. So stand by. It was just kind of too short of a notice for them to jump on right away. So
Yeah, most of the airspace we're dealing with is within the jurisdiction of SoCal TRACON, not so much through LA Center. So, it might be a little bit around the edges of the Bravo airspace, but not generally in the range of center stuff. So, I'm not too surprised we don't see a lot of them here. But yeah, they'll reach out to me if they want to be added to the list.
so, I mean, the spirit is that because a lot of the flight test stuff, including the what's the term again for the vertical? I
Yeah,
forget.
the autonomous drones.
Yeah, that and the urban UAM
AMs and yeah.
that stuff, that kind of treads on flight test values. So for that purpose, I thought it'd be good involvement.
Yeah, but all that flight test is happening not usually inside the LA class Bravo area. It tends to be outside of the area. So again, not within our purview. Interest certainly, I think, of most of us, but not stuff we have any control or direct ability in. So
I've got one sort of left field question, again for Doug Williams or whoever. And that is that as we get to 2026, which is probably or possibly one of the times that Joby or Archer or whatever gets certified, what exactly, if you can say, is happening with regard to airspace over Los Angeles if some of the EVTOLs are going to be populating our area.
Who is that question for?
That was for Doug, if he has any insight on it.
I do not at this time, Ed. Sorry, I've only dealt with the drones and some of the autonomous stuff in the fire world, and it's just making its way into the airspace. You know, we did a little bit last year, but no full size autonomous. It's all been unmanned air systems or just drones, but it's been fairly small, less than 6 feet diameter. New stuff is coming, but I haven't seen anything yet. The biggest one for us was during the Palisades fire in January, where they I want to say about 45 different entities, again, small fire departments, police departments, news media outlets, they all wanted to apply to get into the fire traffic area and the TFRs to take video or do surveillance or map things out. And so what they have to do is they have to get approval from Washington first, and then it comes to the fire for approval. And it was just a whole new bunch of paperwork and a whole huge headache for everybody involved, layering more and more things on top of what we were already dealing with. So, but again, that was for small drones, pictures, and then of course we had the issue with the scooper and the incursion with the drone. So that took up quite a bit of time as well. But we really haven't dealt with the full size unmanned aircraft yet. I think that's still coming, and I know if it's anything like what the drone is, the FAA is kind of scrambling, and things get out there, and then they have issues, and they have to more react and be proactive. So that, again, that's what I've seen, but I haven't been involved in any of the meetings or any at the federal level.
Well, just for clarification purposes, as best as I know, the Jobies and the Archers will be manned. They're EVTOLs, and I think it's going to be, my personal feeling is it's going to be 5 to 10 years, more likely 10 years before they're autonomous. But I'm curious about the EVTOL plan for the greater Los Angeles area, if there is such a thing.
I think we all are, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know if those pilots are certificated pilots? I would imagine they have to be certificated at this point.
Yes, I believe they will.
Copy that. We'll keep our eyes out. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
Yes, and they're actually implementing a new aircraft category for those pilots. It'll be a powered lift category, and each aircraft there will be a type rating. So there'll be a category and type, as opposed to category, class, and type, like in the normal airplane or helicopter world. So the Joby will be one type, and the whatever will be another
Archer.
type.
Yeah.
And I believe they'll have to be at least commercial rated. I don't know that they're going to do ATPs in these yet. I mean, the Jobies are kind of small for that. You're getting up into maybe the Osprey size would require an ATP. And I don't know what altitudes they're going to operate at. I mean, helicopters are okay at 400 feet, I think, or is it 500 feet? Airplanes have to be a minimum of 1,000 in a populated area. So I don't know, but they want to fly inside where the Class Bravo surface area is. And in order to do that, that's going to be a lot of involvement, engagement with SoCal TRACON, with air traffic control. So we've had them here in the past. They're not here this month. But I'm curious about the current state of that regulatory development. I don't think it's out there yet. I don't even think they've gotten to an NPRM stage yet.
Well, just an idea. Maybe you would send an email to Sunshine and see if she can get somebody for our next month's meeting that would tell us what the status of all of this is.
Yeah, maybe the Joby people would know better because they're engaged in it directly, probably with FAA National, as opposed to the regional. They're trying to create the rules that will work everywhere. So, trying to develop a system that would work here in SoCal is nice, but when they go do it in New York and Chicago and San Francisco, they want to be able to use the same rules everywhere, I would think. So that would have to be more of a national initiative if I were doing it, but I'm not doing it. So we'll see how they decide to do it.
There is a a Joby person here in Los Angeles, George Gavork,
Yes.
and we could get him on if you wish.
Yep. We certainly could. I think he'd be happy to enlighten us. Santosh, see your hand up again?
Yes, I just got Dennis Lord on the phone. He apologized for not being able to make the meeting. He's buried in multiple Zoom meetings, but he didn't want me to pass from him that it's going to be the 24th to the 26th is going to be Fleet Week LA. The Jets are currently based out of Long Beach. And in addition to that, on the 26th, he's going to be controlling a MV-22 Osprey flyover Angel Stadium for Memorial Day.
Okay.
The things he wanted to pass on, and then the rest he will email us with the details once it's ready.
All right. All right. Well, with that little tidbit, then that's all I have for the agenda this month. Unless somebody else has something new. John, you have anything we haven't already touched on today?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Mike, I
Yes.
just finally came here from the LAXR SAT, and they're taking a 20-minute break, so I'm done with them. Basically, just to bring you up to speed, is that the two things on runway incursions that they were talking about was 25 left at Foxtrot and going around the corner and ending up having a runway incursion there. And the 3 new taxiways that are off of 24 right, Yankee Whiskey, and I can't remember the third one, of them making the turn and not being able to stop in time before crossing the hold short bars for 25 left.
Yes. So let me show you those here. These are hot spots, and the next thing they're probably going to do in that meeting is discuss hot spots, any changes, deletions, or additions. So they've added now taxiways Victor and Whiskey to the existing Yankee here, and that hotspot 1 it's actually doing 2 things. One thing is aircraft as they land 24 right and they're holding short at 25 left, they either don't fully clear the runway 24 right, so their tail's hanging over the line behind them, or they cross the line in front of them and get onto 24 left. So I've held in that spot there, and they made the comment last year. Jason Herman had photographs that he'd taken from a cockpit. It is really hard to see if I'm holding short at 24 left there at Yankee. It's virtually impossible for me to see an aircraft departing 24 left from my seat. I just can't see it. So there was some discussion there about how big of an aircraft can sit there. It depends on not only the type of the aircraft, but the weather. Some aircraft are allowed to hold in that space in VMC, but not in less than 2 miles visibility or less than a half a mile visibility. And then the other one you mentioned was 25 right at Foxtrot, hotspot 2.
Actually, 25 left at Foxtrot.
Yeah, so they come out of the cargo areas on the south side there, and they taxi down Alpha, make the left turn on a Foxtrot. And usually what happens is they'll cross 25 left, hold short at 25 right, and then they'll cross 25 right and go Bravo to do a full length departure on 25 right. Other times, sometimes they'll depart 25 left, or sometimes even they'll depart 25 right from Foxtrot. So there's a lot of confusion at that turn. The hold short line is hard to see. I've only been there one time, and that was in my 182, so that was not a very good representative. But yeah, these are the problem areas at LAX. The other
Mike, that they
hotspots-
had said during the meeting that they are probably for hotspot 1 going to try to incorporate the other 2 taxiways into the a revised hotspot.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. Victor and Whiskey are new. My recommendation would be to expand this hotspot 1 so it covers all 3, because it's the same situation at all 3. The heavies tend to go down to Whiskey or Yankee. The light narrow bodies tend to go to Victor or maybe Whiskey. But the same situation exists at all of them. And then they always do a hotspot review at these meetings. So hotspot 3 and 4 are less of an issue now than they've been in the past. They might go away. I think they're going to have that discussion as well. And we were contacted by the ATM Sherry Avery a couple of weeks ago about this hold short issue. Honestly, it's not much of an issue for GA pilots. Certainly in our Part 91 flying, we tend not to fly into LAX very much. So It is certainly an issue for airlines, though. So we need to make sure that LA Tower, is talking to the right audience. So the chief pilots from a number of airlines were there at the meeting. I saw Delta, Southwest, American were there. So that's the proper communication to get to the professional pilots at those airlines is through those corporate channels, because we don't use the government charts in professional flying as a general rule. So yeah, I'm not surprised they're going on. It's been going on for 2 hours already. LAX is probably going to be a pretty long RSAT, so I'll probably jump back on myself here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, and I'm going to the NASA meeting. Mike, by the way, if at all possible, could you send me a link to the recording of today's meeting so I can bring myself up to speed?
I'll keep you posted.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure.
I just attached a graphic from our previous discussion for everyone's reference.
Okay. Oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so I expect to remain the same this year.
All right. All right. If nothing else, then I will bang the gavel on this. If I had one, I guess I'd look around and get a gavel and say so long. Thanks for coming, everybody, this month. And we'll look for you next month on June 10th at 10 a.m. Be here or be square. And thanks for coming. See you next month.
Yes, thanks for everything, Mike.
Awesome
Take care.
job, Mike. See you tonight.